all of them. Rolando and Lucas, thank you very much. You want to say good morning and good afternoon?
Good afternoon from my side.
Today's presentation will focus on chatbots, including hands-on labs. In the next 60 minutes, you will learn more about Oracle Digital Assistant. Digital Assistant is available as a platform solution to build your own chatbots and provides pre-built skills for Oracle HCM and Service Cloud. Please post your questions in the Q&A section or use the Twitter hashtag Oracle Developer Meetup. Join our local meetup groups at developercommunity.blog/meetups. And special thanks to our trainers, Ruben and David, for running the session. To run the session hands-on, please activate your free Oracle Cloud trials at cloud.oracle.com/try it. Please do use the same email which you used for the registration. With this short introduction, I would like to hand over to you, David.
Thanks, Juven. Hi, everybody. I'm David Perez, manager from a partner in Spain called Avantic. And with me is Ruben, that is the main architect in cloud solutions at middleware and cloud solutions at Oracle. Let's start with this last course or session from the Red Expert Alliance, and we will see all the Oracle Digital Assistant platform and some examples and scenarios that we are already building. Okay. Let's move forward. Okay. What we want to do is give you some information about this solution, this platform. So first of all, we need that you hear about it. If you are new to this chatbot or assistant solutions, see in real time the platform, and if you have already your trial account, you can start to play with them. And finally, let's do some scenarios to learn about the use cases that we can implement in this platform. For this session, I will do a brief introduction of the platform and a demonstration, and just a brief one, because the main purpose of this course is that you can run by yourself the scenarios, and finally, after doing all the scenarios, we will answer all your questions and any other blocked things that you have find out in this course. Okay, we will use Katacoda. We are using for all these seasons, for all these courses that Lucas and Rolando already did. This platform is really easy to implement a course here, and it's very easy for you as attending to follow all the course. Okay. First of all, we need that you have to check if you already have an OCI cloud trial account, and you need also an OCI tenancy ready, or just the root created to do this course. And we have prepared in this URL all the scenarios that we have built for this session. Let me check if I can go there. Yeah, okay. Okay. We will start in a few minutes with them, but first let's continue. Okay, with the presentation. In the first scenario that Lucas and Rolando prepared a couple of weeks ago is all the steps that you need to prepare the OCI platform and the compartment. So if you don't have already done this scenario, please do it before starting our digital assistant scenarios. And for all this session, and also for you, we are using the trial account that Oracle is providing us. It's very easy to create a new one. I did it yesterday, and it's like 3, 4, 5 minutes to prepare the account. You will receive an activation email immediately, and you can start very soon. So if you don't have already the account, please do it right now, because it's just 5 minutes. It will ask for a credit card, but don't worry, because if you don't upgrade the cloud account, you won't get charged of any other rate. And now I will start creating the ODA platform, because I already have one, but we need a new one.
Just to add something, the first scenario in this Katacoda course is what David is going to do now, but as it takes 5 minutes or so to create, while he presents a bit the platform, he will create it.
Yeah. Well, you will find digital assistant just on the menu on the left, and if you go there, it's very easy to create a new instance. Just select the main root compartment. You can create a new one. If you attended to other sessions from Rolando and Lucas, you will know that compartments is the way to separate or group all these instances, maybe because you need for your company or any other reason. But for this example, I will use the root one. If I can check it. Oh, okay. Test. Okay, and the shape of the digital assistant platform is based on the number of requests that the chatbot will accept. Now that we are using just a sample or some scenarios that are prepared for development, we will select development instance. But if you go to production, I think it's more than 300 requests per minute. In any case, in the scenario is already detailed, and also Ruben can explain later. So let's create them. Okay. Why? This is
you can only have one instance.
Okay, sorry. Only one for free. In any case, if you create the new one, you will see this in this bullet in yellow until it's active. It takes like 5 minutes. So let's create that and wait until it's finished. Okay. Okay, before going to detail or have a better deep introduction in the Oracle platform, we want to show you, or at least what is a chatbot, or what the people understand that it's a chatbot. We're using this explanation from Gartner. The virtual assistant, digital assistant, or chatbots is a conversational compute-generated character that simulates a conversation to deliver voice or text-based information to a user via web, kiosk, or mobile interface. It's important that they are not focused only for text-based, that they already say that is also for voice. We will see later that we can use different channels, and a lot of channels are migrating or moving to the voice, you know, with Google Assistant, Alexa, Siri, or any other. And before creating a chatbot or before starting a project of a digital assistant, we need to check some challenge for the enterprise, because it's always when we start these kind of projects, we face in almost the same key problems or main problems. So the first one is the overcoming resistance to the change. So it could be a fear in many employees that artificial intelligence and chatbots may pose a threat to the jobs. So employees should be made aware and ensure that a bot has the capability to relieve them of their repetitive work and make them more productive. So a chatbot is a tool that can help you on this repetitive work and annoying work, that it can be do it automatically by the chatbot, and you can use your time for another thing. So we face these problems so many times, so it's a big challenge for the employees. The next one, securing the real benefits. Okay. Owing to the hype around artificial intelligence in media, chatbots are largely considered as one of the top solutions that can solely streamline all the business operations. However, this is not true. It's imperative for a developer or a partner to set the right expectation for the customer or clients. So users must be aware of the capabilities or real capabilities of a chatbot before they are deployed or developed. The audience is one of the keys. Chatbot and skills that we will see what is a skill later are designed for a focus audience. So you need to take care about your final or end users. For example, you have to take care about the age, about the IT or technical level, and maybe also the location of that users for culture modification. So you have to avoid sophisticated use cases depending on the end user. If you are preparing something for all the end users, is not the same that preparing a chatbot for your IT users. Okay, without the right data, is useless. Okay. Continuously, chatbots are used for submitting some online procedures. To achieve this, you need to integrate in the right way your chatbot with your system or your legacy systems. So before creating and designing the use case, you have to think carefully about your integration needs, because if you are using some information that is not the real information, the chatbot has no sense. So if you need to integrate information from your legacy systems, please think about that before deploying the chatbot. And the last one, here we go. Okay, maximize your leads. New channels, new audience. So take advantage of that unique situation. You can call it out that user information to focus your marketing team on transforming that user interest on new sales or user growth on your community or any other marketing opportunity. So if you have a web channel, maybe an app, mobile application, now you have new channels that can be the chatbot, the WhatsApp, the Google Assistant. So empower your marketing team with that information, giving all the user information analytics that you get from the chatbot, and you can transfer that for new sales. Okay. About the platform, I really like this diagram because it displays in 4 blocks the main areas of the Oracle platform. In the first of all, you need the channels, because you need to address all the information from the chatbot to different channels. But the system or the platform by default includes all these integrations, so you don't have to build anything. You only have to connect to them. But also you can connect maybe to a mobile application, or maybe to any other SaaS solution. But you only have to develop one use case or one time, and you can deliver it to any other channels. On the other side, we need to a tool or a simple way to define and design these dialog flows. We will see later how we can use the platform for that. But the main purpose of this idea is give to the user an easy way to design and prepare a chatbot. So we can see later that in the platform is that is possible without coding anything. I can create a chatbot from scratch. One of the powerful parts, or I think the better from the Oracle solution against other solutions is the integration. The digital assistant platform is integrated in the Oracle Cloud with all the platform solutions. So you can integrate with a lot of other systems without developing any connector. You can use Oracle Integration Cloud for connecting with ERP, HCM, or any other platforms. You can use also hybrid solutions to integrate the cloud with your legacy systems or your on-premise systems with a VPN. So you have multiple options to achieve that. And finally, of course, the artificial intelligence. So the processor of the natural language of the chatbot can detect that intentions or user intentions when we are asking for something. I want a pizza, or I want to create an appointment, or I need information about whatever. So that cloud machine learning and artificial intelligence that the Oracle has in their platform is the one that has the capability to detect and interact with the end user. So now I will move to the platform. Okay, here we go. Let me refresh. Okay, this is the Oracle Digital Assistant platform, the web user interface. The platform is separated in these 4 blocks: skills, digital assistant, channels, and stores. Skills are those use cases that you define. I mean, if you are creating a use case, for example, to reset the password of your user at your company, or you are creating a skill for getting some payrolls, or maybe to ask something to somebody, all these skills are developed separate, but later you can integrate all of them in one unique digital assistant. That's the way we can component or separate different solutions or different flows that we have developed and defined, and mix all of them in a big one digital assistant. This is also the way that we can iterate and create the first version of our chatbot, and we can add later more skills and more capabilities to our solution. The digital assistant is the main panel for all the skills. The channels, as I mentioned before, we have already a lot of out-of-the-box solutions, and also there is capability to drop off to an agent. If you have, for example, cloud, Oracle Service Cloud, you can connect the chatbot with an agent. So if in some part of the conversation the chatbot cannot help more the user, you can move the conversation to a human person. And that person can continue the conversation, and when it finishes, get back to the chatbot. It's a way to avoid a lot of work in the agents, because the chatbot is solving some part of the conversation, and when you need human interaction, but you can move to the agent. And finally, store. Oracle is giving us some skills here, and they are also publishing all the skills from the SaaS solutions like HCM or ERP, and you can connect them to, well, you can pick up them and connect to your digital assistant. So this is growing each month with new skills. Okay, I would like to show you the online designer. Make this bigger. Okay. Later, Ruben will explain all of this. I will focus on the designer. Designer is the way that you can create a mock-up. When you are designing the first version of your flow or the first mock-up for this chatbot, you can start with this graphical designer to create the base of your chatbot, and it will create a lot of entities, intents, and all the work that you need on the background. And after that, you can develop over them. So let's do some sample here. Let me check that one. First of all, you need to explain which actions you will create. For example, I want to create a house finder chatbot. So first of all, let's have creating. I want to find an apartment, find a house. Also create appointment. Oh. And let's show the menu options. I have all these tasks here, and let's start. For example, the first one is greeting. That is the easy one. And this user interface is simulating the conversation between the human and the chatbot. So, for example, let's say hi. It detects that there is a greeting utterance. If I follow the user flow, the user will start with the greeting, and after that he will ask about the options or the capabilities of the chatbot. So let's show some options. For example, show options. In each task, I will start with the human saying what I want to do, because I want that the platform detects these intents. So if I'm entering on this task of show options, I would say, please show me options, or just I want to see the options or whatever. And in this case, the chatbot can answer with different widgets. For example, in this case, let's do a simple menu. And I can link or branch this menu option directly with the other task. For example, if I want to branch the conversation with final apartment. I can add it here. Also the same with the house, final house. Okay, let's start with an apartment. I want static as intent. And now let's play with the cards. These are the available. Those cards can be swiped vertical or horizontal. I think now it's horizontal. Let's keep it there. And let me add some of them. Those prices are real. I'm not joking about that. It's the expensive part of Madrid. Okay. And the name. Let me add another one. Okay, and the user can later click here, or he can just type it. And now I want to connect this task with the appointment one. So I create the transition to the appointment task. For example, let me finish that one and we will show all the work. Oh, sorry, actions. Morning or afternoon. The user space in the morning. There's a file. 23rd. How simple, yes or no. Okay. If you see, the user interface is detecting that I'm asking about the morning, but we can also use afternoon, and he will move directly. He will change the phrase. You can preview all your tasks with this simple mockup, but this is just the same that we have typed, but in a video. But now we can create all this work of the mockup. We can translate it to to the system as intents, entities, and all the things that we need in the chatbot, and we can test it with different users' inputs. So let me go back to the mockup. Let's create the skill. Let's train it. This is important because without train, the platform cannot be used. We have these two trainer systems. We can use the linguistic-based model or the machine learning. We recommend this one, and for now for development, and for trainer TM, I think is more for production. But Ruben maybe have some more idea about that. Okay, let's see if it works. I say hi. It's detecting that I'm in the greeting task. And now it's also detecting that I want the options, and I want to move to apartments, for example. We can show all the cards that we have already added. And let's create an appointment for this afternoon. And now is the appointment created. So this is a base mockup solution to create a demo in your company, or to create a demo for other people at the work. And it's the start or the base for your development later. So with this simple, I think I spent like 10 minutes or less. Now I have created all the base to work with this chatbot. I have all my intents, and I have, oh, okay, the intents connected without coding anything. So I think it's a good approach to start, but of course it's not connected to my database, it's not connected to any web service, but you can do it later. Okay, I think I'm done, Ruben.
Okay.
So
yeah, I will share my screen.
I stop sharing my screen.
If you have an opportunity to take a look at all the questions in the
I will.
Q&A window. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for attending. My name is Roberto Rodriguez, and as David said, and I work in Spanish Partner as Oracle Cloud Architect. I'm specialized in digital assistant. As you can see in my screen, we have prepared these 5 Katacoda scenarios for you, so you can start doing it right now if you have your account set up and running, or you can do it afterwards. So the first scenario, I will just go over it like in 1 minute, is to create the digital assistant instance, something that David already tried to do before. You access the digital assistant menu on the left-hand side, then select the compartment and click on create digital assistant. Then you just set a name and select the shape. The shape is development. There is a limit, I think, 50 or 100. I think it's 50 requests per hour, and production is 250. So for production, you want the production one, and for development, the development one. It's as simple as that. And once you click on create, it will be creating the instance. It usually takes from 5 to 10 minutes max. And then you just access the instance by clicking on the Service Console button on the menu. Once you click in there, as David showed, you go to this page. and you are done for this scenario. And the next scenario what we're going to do is to create, or in the next 4 scenarios, what we're going to do is to create a skill. As David explained, skill is individual chatbot that are focused on specific tasks that are usually on the same area. And then you have the digital assistant in the same terms that you have Alexa, that you can have multiple skills attached to it. So in this first one, we're going to create our skill and define the intents and intents. The objective of these scenarios is to create a weather chatbot where users can ask for the weather in specific locations and the specific dates. So for these first 2 scenarios, you can make this screen bigger because we are not going to use the terminal, but I wasn't able to remove it from here. So let's start with this. The first thing you have to do is to enable the location entity. Oracle Digital Assistant provides some features, optional features that can be enabled if needed. So in this case, we need to have the location entity enabled. So we just go to feature management under settings, enable all, and switch profile. Okay, now it's on. So we can now just proceed as the next step would say to create our skill. So we go to development, skills, and click on new skill. So for this, you want to give weather skill name, as I have already created it in the past to prepare the scenarios. I will just call it with another name, but you can use weather skill. Okay, and there are different areas within the skill. You have the intents, that are the use case or what the user wants to achieve. The entities, there are variables. You have a set of built-in variables such as date, duration, email, etc. And you can create custom entities like a list of values, regular expressions, etc. Then you have the flow builder or the dialog flow. The dialog flow is implemented in YAML, and you need to, I will repeat it later because it's really important. There is an indent of two spaces. So you need to take care of that once you start working with it, because if not, the flow will not work. The conversation designer is something that David already showed before. Resource bundles is just as in any kind of application, you have these resource bundles, a set of value key or key value items where you set the different translations and text instead of having it directly on the dialog flow. Then you have the Q&A. I remember a question about the Q&A. If we have time after all these scenarios, I will show you how you can create Q&A in ODA. It's just specifying a set of questions and answers, so it's really simple. Then the quality. The quality reports is that it just suggests you some gives you some suggestions to avoid utterances or phrases sample overlaps. Then you have analytics, the functions in order to integrate or connect external systems via using Node.js, and general settings that we will not cover on the on these hands-ons. So the first thing you need to do after you create the skill is to create the intents. So for this chatbot, we'll have 3 intents. The first one is greetings. Now at the end, if the user says hello, we need to tell the user hello. We can do this, we can do that. So we'll guide the user on the things the chatbot can do. So you just fill the conversation name, and then just get some examples. I will, well, you can copy it or you can just type it here under examples. So good morning, hi, hey, hello, etc. You can add as many as you want. The second, then we are going to create two more. That is the weather forecast. So we create an intent. Good. And we get these training phrases and we add it here. Okay, our second intent is completed. And now we create the third one, that is help. Well, here you can add some phrases like, I don't know how to use the bot, what can I do? I don't know how to continue, etc. I mean, there is a different set of phrases that a user can say once they are stuck and they cannot continue, or they don't know how to use it. Okay, so the intents are created now, and we are going back to our weather forecast. And we are now going to associate or add some entities. In this case, for the weather forecast, you usually need location, and you usually need a date, right? And then we will use these two values to call a REST API that will give us the weather forecast. So just click on continue. As we did at the different entities, and now we can test or train and test. So as David said, there is two different models. The first one, HT, is a linguistic model. It is very good when you have a low number of utterances or phrases or examples. And then we have trainer TM, that is a machine learning one. It usually requires more phrases, and it's something that you want to use in production. So for this hands-on and for, we are developing now. So we just train with this, with trainer XT. Okay, so it is trained. So we can now try, by clicking on this link here, we can try our intents. So if we say hello, okay, it is 100% sure that we want to do something like greetings, right? Then we can say something like, let's talk about the weather. So is it snowing in Madrid? Okay, so the bot knows that we want the weather forecast in Madrid. So another question we can do to check if it is able to recognize the date is, what's the weather in Madrid for tomorrow? So it understands the place or the location, and it also gets that tomorrow is July 16th. So it is working fine, and we can just go to the next step. You can try with other phrases. If there is something that you try, and as I mentioned here in this scenario, if there is something that you try and the percentage is lower than 60, for example, or another intent than the one you think that it should recognize is higher, you just click the intent you think and click on add example. This will automatically add the phrase to the intent examples list or utterances, and you can retrain the bot and try again. So this is mostly the way you can, one of the ways you can train the model. So this scenario is now completed. It's a really simple one. So you are just designing the intents and configuring them. So next we can go to the implementation of the flow. So as I mentioned before, it is implemented in, let's make this bigger again, as we are not going to use it for this one. So here in the flow, it is implemented in YAML. You have, and as you see, there are different states here. So everything in ODA dialog is on a state. Asking the user for like this, what's your name, is on a state. Calling to an external service is a state. Just printing some text is a state. Everything is a state. And then the state uses components. And for those that wonder if you need to know any single line of code here, no. So you have here a set of components where you have all the code needed with comments and explanations of what is every single property doing. So there is no need to, to know every single line of code by man. So let's start implementing this. So this is a skill that we just created, and there are some examples here. So you can just delete it, as we will start adding some code for our example. So the first thing we need to do is to add the intent state. So the intent state is using or uses a system intent component, and is the one that is in charge of doing the intent matching against the intents you defined on the screen, on the skill. The intent and entity resolution is stored in this variable, in the variable you defined here. That has to be of type NLP result. And then the actions that you define has to be on the left side, the name of the intent, the same way you type it here. And on the right side is the state you are going to transition to. So in this case, greetings, we transition to greet state, weather forecast to init weather forecast state, help state, and resolve. That means that no intent what was matched goes to our unresolved state. As you will see later in some of the other states, there are different types of transitions. You have the next transition that directly points to the next state this one will transition to. You have the return that just finalize the conversation and clears all the variables that you may have stored. Then you have these actions, etc. You have a different set of transitions that you can check, that you can set, and usually a specific state or a specific component has specific different transitions that you can set. So yeah, I mentioned here for those that will do the labs later, you have here an explanation on of the different ones. So let's continue for the next one, and we are going to add two new states. So at the end of the code, we add the greet, and as I said before, you need to take care of the indent. If you see this, there are four spaces here, so you need to I will do it manually. So this is something that you need to take care of, mainly when copying and pasting some code into ODA. Okay, so we have added two system output components that are just printing some messages to the user. And what we are doing is we are just printing the first message, welcome to the weather forecast assistant, and then going directly to the next one. So it will print the two messages in a row. We are doing that by using this property, keep turn, and set it to true. By default, every single state is waiting for some action from the user. And the way to avoid this and to make it automatically move to the next state is by using this keep turn equals true. And then we are finalizing, as I said before, the return transition just clears all the variables and ends the conversation. So let's go back. Another one here, and we are going to add another two states. In this case, a list that will print. Okay, now it copied it. Fine, good. So we are using for the unresolved intent. So if there is no intent matched, we are just transitioning to resolve unresolved. So it's this one. We are going to print the user a list of buttons so they can select, or a list of buttons if the channel support it. So they can select if they want to know, in this case, the weather forecast or not. If they select yes, we will move to init weather forecast state. And if they select no, we will move to the state below, that is the end unresolved. Okay, let's go to the next one. And before moving and adding more states, we need to take care of the variables. So the variables at the end, you're going to set many variables on the actual flow. And for us at the moment, we're going to add this, and we are going to add the location variable that is using the entity location that we added to the intent, and the date variable that is using the date entity that we added as well. So now that we added the variables that we're going to use in the flow, we can just start adding new states. Okay, so we have added 3 states. The first one is init weather forecast. That is the first state that will be executed if the user asks for the weather forecast. And we are just setting a variable. So there is this system set variable component. In this case, we are picking the value from the irresolute variable. That is where the, as I said, where the intent resolution is stored. And we are picking the date. And then we are moving to the set plus location state, where we are going to ask for the location. So some things that we need to take care in here, or you need to take care in here is, first one is the variable that you set under properties is the one that you are going to fill with the answer of the user. But the this state will only be executed if this variable is empty. This is what is called the entity slotting. So if state with a variable property, that variable is empty, the state will be executed. If not, the state will be skipped. In this case, by setting the NLP rest variable here, we are also trying to fill the variable before executing the state. So if the user types what's the weather in Madrid, first we are going to try to set this variable with the in this case Madrid from the that is inside the irresolute variable, and then if it is empty, we will skip this state, and if it is filled, we will no, if it is filled, we will skip this state, and if it is empty, we will ask the user for the city. Then the next state that will be executed after this one is the print weather. So we can just show the weather to the user, and we have set a cancel action. So if the max prompts, that means we will ask the user twice. If the user doesn't provide a location in the first 2 times, we will just skip this state and go to the no location. That is, I need a location to provide the weather. Without a location, I cannot provide it. Okay, so let's move next to add the print weather state and the end conversation thanks. Beware when you are trying to copy this, because I have some problem with Katacoda, and there are some characters in here that prevents me to, or is making this code block to appear here. So you need to delete this code ending tag. So let's go to here at the end, paste this, and remove the code. Then you need to take care of the indent here. So here we need to delete one. We need to this one. Okay, so fine. So in this case, we're using a common response component. I remember a question about if we are showing a card or it was something like previewing WhatsApp. So there is a component that is called common response that enable us to create cards. Of course, in WhatsApp there are no cards, but there are cards in Facebook Messenger. There are cards in web widget. There are cards in many other channels. So I think I missed something here. Okay, like that. So in this case, we're showing a card, just one, with the title as Madrid and the date of today, the temperature and how it is, image, and the URL. So a URL at the end is it's good to have a button if you want to expand information so the user can click on it and open in a new tab or in a browser more information about it. And then after printing the weather, we are just transitioning to end conversation thanks. That is the last state here. Thank you for using my services. Feel free to ask me again. So let's go back to this to the scenario, and then you need to validate. So there is this button that yeah, I knew it. Okay, so this is the thing that is there is that one. So you can validate as you saw. This is you know something that you need to be very careful when implementing this. So you have validate, so it will validate the structure of the file, and you have here you can open it and close it to see the different errors that appear on the flow, right? So let's move this. Oh. Okay, let's do it manually. Okay, so it should be fine now. It's not fine now. Let me go back to here to see if I copied it correct or not. Yeah, let's do one thing. So let's go to the source of the this is so here we have the source code for this. Let's copy it. And I will try to fix this before today or tomorrow, so you have the code up and running. Anyway, at the end of this scenario, you have the actually full flow working that you can get out of GitHub and copy and paste it in case there is something wrong. But it happens to me. So now that we have validated, we can just go and try it. So there is this play button here that will open a tester where you can just say, let's try with hello first. Will answer us the welcome to my weather assistant. And now we can just start saying what's the weather in Madrid. Okay, as you may think, okay, this is static data, right? Yeah, but we are taking the location. And if we ask for the weather in Madrid for tomorrow, it will also take the date. And now in the next scenario that we are going to run now, we are going to actually create a service call to a REST API that will, by passing these two parameters, we will get the actual weather from, in this case, Open Weather Map. That is a free API. Well, it provides free API in some of the some endpoints for free, but for this case, yeah, for this hands-on is enough. So we have already validated it. You can try with These phrases I got here, but you can just try with any phrase that you may imagine. And yeah, this one is finished. Let's go to the next one. That is the custom component implementation. So the first thing you need to do is to go to Open Weather Map API and register. It's free. It's free of charge. You can just, in this case, I will not register live, but I am registered. You go to API keys in your account, and here you have the API to be used to call the service. I will copy it later. So let's start it. So this is actually the first scenario where you will be using the terminal, and you will be using Visual Studio Code to implement the service. It takes a while to get it up and running, so just click it first, then go to the terminal and start installing some utilities that you need to create the custom component. So the first thing we need to do is to install the SDK from Oracle. So just click on the command and it will be executed. Or should be executed. Okay, let's try again. If not, I will refresh the page and try again. So reading, please increase the font. It's better now. Okay, let's see if now it works. Okay, now it's working. Yeah, nothing that refresh of the page doesn't fix. So next thing we need to do is to move to the folder to align the terminal with the Visual Studio Code workspace. Create a folder for the weather component, access it, and then we're going to initialize the node application with -y option that will just select yes to all the questions. Now we need to init the component, so it will add some files to our component, so we don't need to do it on or manually. Okay, now we need to install two node modules. The first one is request to make a REST call. As I mentioned here, it is deprecated now. So for production usage, you might consider one of these three that I added here. And the last one we need to execute is the install of the date format module, so we can format the date as we wish. Okay, so it is completed now. So we are going to start with implementation. So we just click here. So the IDE is opened. Okay, now it worked. So we have it here. We have our weather component folder that we created with all the items or the files that were added initially by executing the init of the SDK. So the important part here is inside components. We have this hello world component by default with some example. Let's just delete it, as we are going to create a new one. So let's create a new file and call it, for example, query.js. Okay, so it's important to give here a name that will help you to recognize what is this component doing. So in this case, it's a query. We are going to query the weather, and then we just copy and paste the following code. So this this metadata function is helping us to define the component. So in this case, it's going to be called weather.query. And we are using three properties or parameters. The first one is the location variable, the date variable, and the print variable. We are going to use the location and date as in parameters and the print variable as out parameter. Then we have the supported actions. That is, what actions are we allowing, or what actions are we allowing that we will configure later in the dialog flow. So if we transition to success action, we can set a state within the dialog flow so we can transition to it. So the next thing we are going to do is to define or to get the values from these three variable or parameters. So inside the invoke function, we just add this. So what we are doing here is we are retrieving, so from the properties, we are just retrieving the value that we get here, or we get passed here. And then from the variables, we are getting the value of the variable that we are sending to the component. This is, so I recommend to send variable names instead of actual values, or for example, instead of sending the actual date, we send the variable name date. Because if you by any chance you change the name of the variable in the flow, you have to go to the code, to the custom code, and change the variable. So in this case, if you just pass the variable name, you don't need to do it. You just change it on the dialog flow, it's fine. There is no need to change it afterwards. So let's create these three variables in here, just to load the two modules that we added before. And now we are going to get the API key and add it here. So now we are going to add two different REST API calls. And I will explain why we are doing two API calls instead of just, I want the weather, right? So there is one API that gives me the weather. So we are doing two because there are two different endpoints that we are going to use. The first one is the weather forecast for today, or the current weather forecast. And to call this, you can just pass a location name, so Madrid, London, etc. Then there are another API that is called OneCall. It's free as well. Both are free, so you don't get so you will not get charged for using it. And this one only allows latitude and longitude as parameters. So you cannot provide the name of the location, but on the other hand, they return, or this service return the weather forecast for the next 7 days. So mixing the two of them, we will implement the use case. So let's go to the next one, and this is the actual business logic. Let's paste it here. Good. So we're going to, let's make this a bit bigger. So what we are doing here is to, so we are setting the date difference to 0. So and calculating the difference. So if the user says tomorrow, we will calculate that the date difference is 1. And with this, if the user, as we cannot provide the weather forecast for day 8, so for the next 10 days, for example, if the day difference is greater than 7, we are just going to transition to the date error and maybe print to the user, I can only give you the forecast for the next 7 days. I don't know, something like that. So then we're going to call the current weather function that is just calling this REST service that will give us the weather forecast for today. Okay, so if the user doesn't provide any date, we are just assuming that they want the weather for today. If the day difference is 0, meaning that they said, I want the weather forecast for today, we are going to print the actual data that this function returned. If the day difference is different than 1, we are just going to call the other service, this one call service, to retrieve the weather forecast given the latitude and longitude that we get from the previous call. So there is no need to call an external service to give us the coordinates. We can get it from this service as well. So yeah, we call this 7-day forecast function that is calling the one call endpoint. And from here, we get an array. So we just get the day position. So if it is today, we just get, well, if it is today, it will not enter here. But if it is 1, we just get the second position of the array, and we just give the data back to, as you can see here, we are adding the data to an array, so we can display it in cards, and adding that array to the print variable that now we will take care of it on the ODA user interface. So let's make this a bit, maybe not that much. Okay. So yeah, let's go to the next one. And now what we're going to do is to run the so for it, we just execute this one. So the service is running at the moment. So what we need to do now is to create the service connection in ODA. So we go back to the ODA user interface, we go to functions menu or components menu, and create a new service connection. In this case, I'm going to call it a weather service. And then you have 3 options to integrate services. Embedded container that you can just do an npm pack on the component that we just created and upload it. Oracle Mobile Cloud, you have the Oracle Mobile Hub instance within Oracle Cloud. You can create the API there and connect it, or external. So you can host it any place you want. In this case, as the service is deployed in Katacoda, we are just going to use the data I provided here. So you can now try to use this, but this same data, but this data is specific per user that is running the environment. So it will be wiped 1 hour after this scenario was started. So the metadata URL is this one. Here, let's move this here, or close it actually. So, and then username and password. We have not set any username and password, so we can just set empty data, whatever thing you want, because it will not check if it is right or not, as we didn't set it on the component. Okay, so let's just click on create. And as you can see, we have created the weather service that contains the weather.query component that we created. And we have 3 variables or properties and 3 supported actions. Okay, so now before testing the bot again with actual data, we need to go to the flow and add some modifications to it so we can actually integrate this service. So let's next. Okay, so the first thing we need to add is the add this state, the query weather state that will use our weather query component. So let's, for example, do it here. I mean, if you follow this tells you exactly where do you have to do it. But I think it's fun to have it there. So yeah, that is done. Then we need weather variable. That is where we are going to store the data. And this is a string. So in a string variable, you can add a JSON, an array, you can add almost whatever thing you want. So that's why we use this weather variable. Okay, so now we need to modify this state. So the difference between this set as for location is that now he's moving directly to the print weather component. But what we need to do is first query our custom component so we can actually call the service to return the data, right? So we just modify print weather by query weather. Then we have the print weather. I will copy and paste it and explain what are the changes. So now we're using the static data, and now what we are going to do is to get the data from the weather variable that we have filled on the custom component. So in this case, we are getting the, as you can see here, we are just filling this temp weather icon date. So what we need to do here is temp icon weather date. Okay. Something that you can use here in the dialog flow is Apache FreeMaker. So in this case, the name of the location, we are adding the first letter as capital letter, and we are rounding the temperature. So we don't use decimals. It's just well, we don't use decimal. Let's say that. Okay. So okay, and now the last thing we need to do is to add the Showdate error state. As you remember, I said that if the date is greater than 8 days or 7 days in this case, we will just transition to this state that is marked here. So date error transition, we navigate to Showdate error, that is this state. Okay, so if everything is fine, okay, it is fine here. Let's just test it again. And now we can ask for what's the weather in London, for example. Okay, so we got that, you can see here in the variables, we have the date, today, 15th of July, the temperature, 18 degrees, weather clouds, and the icon that is generated dynamically based on the output from the service. So the service is integrated, it's working, it's giving us the data, and we are printing. Now let's play with the date, for example. What's the weather in Madrid for next Tuesday? Okay, next Tuesday, 21st of July. Great. So we are it's going to rain. I don't like that. So, and then let's try just another one to demonstrate the transition. So we can, instead of Tuesday, we can say Friday, for example. Okay, so as you see, the day difference is greater than 7, so because it's 10 days or 9 days, so we cannot get the data from the service. So we are saying the user, I cannot see that far away. I can only know the weather for the 7 days. Okay, so this lab is finalized now, and we can move to the next one. This is the testing part. As I mentioned before, you have here a link to GitHub, where you have, for example, the weather component in this case, and the flow definition in this other case, right? Just so you can just copy and paste. It will be error-free, and it will work right away. Okay, so now let's move to the next scenario, the last one. Very important, very important. Do not close this. Do not close this this tab. The service is running on this Catacode environment, so I suggest to keep it open and open the next scenario in a new tab. Okay. Because if you close it, maybe you will lose the service and you will not be able to test it from the channel. Let's move this here. Okay, so let's now start the last one. So this is the scenario where you will create a web widget in a website and integrate it with your chatbot. So let's start it. First, you need to create a channel. So a channel, you go to the ODA interface. Let's create a new one. Yeah. So Katacoda Live. Okay, and we are going to select Oracle Web. That is the one that Oracle provides built-in. Then we have a lot of domains, so you can limit this if you want to have your channel only accessible from the domain where you have your website. Just put the IP here. For us, just set an asterisk so anybody can access here, and then we will also disable client authentication. So for a productive environment, you will want this to be enabled, but for this scenario or this hands-on, you can just disable it. Okay, so it is created now. You need to take this, not this one, this one. You need to take the channel ID. I will just copy it later, not now. And the next thing you need to do is to get the weather skill from here. So associate the weather skill to the channel and enable it. Okay, this is done now. So let's go back. We can skip this as I already did it. Okay. Okay, so now we're going back to using this terminal IDE and web widget thing. So click on CD to align again with the IDE. Clone this Git repository where you will find the code for the widget. And then do an npm install. So we install all the dependencies, sorry. Okay, so understanding the SDK, I will go quickly on this. You can just open Visual Studio Code. Okay, so this is the code that has been downloaded. You have the index.html is just the website or the web page or the template where you are going to have this widget. So the only thing you need to add here is these two things, these two script lines, nothing else. Then you have the styles folder where you have a set of CSS files. If you want to make some kind of customizations, you need to add, as I mentioned here, this link here on the head, inside the head tag, and integrate this styles CSS to get it. Then we have the script, instead of scripts, we have the web SDK. It's just the SDK from Oracle, nothing to touch in there. Do not touch anything, because if you do so, things may not work, and I think Oracle will not make responsible for anything that may be happening on your widget. And then we have the settings. Here is where the actual configurations are done. You have the first, as we disable clean authentication on the ODA channel, you need to keep this to false. If you want it on, you just turn it on, but then you have to implement these functions. So the SDK provides the starting point for your implementation. So as we disable it, we can ignore these lines, and then we have the important part, the Init Sdk function. So here is where you have to put the channel ID that we are going to copy from the channel. Okay. Okay, and now we have the ODA URI. So you can get that from here. So you just have to copy without HTTPS, just the host. You come here and you put it there. So to be honest, our widget is now up and running. So it is working, and there is nothing else you need to do unless you want to make some customizations. So let's skip this. Let's go back to the terminal and execute it. Did I save it? Yeah, it is saved. Okay, so we go back to the terminal, we move inside the folder, and we just npm start it. Okay, it is working on port 3000. So now we have here an A-frame that will display us the site that we have just created. So, well, not the site that we created, but the widget that we have just integrated in our site. So as you can see, this is a widget. You can just come here and say hello, and it will answer with the same information that you implemented in ODA. So we ask for the weather, Madrid for tomorrow. Okay, it will be a hot day tomorrow here in Madrid, so it is working fine. Now let's make a couple of customizations to this one. I prepared something like init. So this is a cool one. This is init user hidden message. What this will allow you is to let's add it here. So send in the background a message from the client to the chatbot. So for example, in this case, we are going to send hello hidden, and as soon as we open the widget, the bot will answer with the message that this message will trigger. And now, before executing it, let's just go to, oh, I thought there was something else. Okay, my bad. I'm missing some scenario here. But, okay, so let's do it anyway. So you have here on the user guide, you have a set of all the properties that you can modify, right? So let's change, for example, the color of the, what is this? Just to take the example, yeah. Let's take this and modify the colors, right? So let's go to settings. We come here. And add these colors. So we are setting the branding color to this one and the text to this one. So you can just come here, stop the running processes, clicking Control-C, and execute again to so the widget can take the changes, and of course refresh here. So you see, we changed this color by the one that we set, and as you see now, we also received 2 messages, and when we open, we get the welcome message from the bot without sending anything to the bot. And yeah, this is the hands-on that we prepared, and I hope you enjoy it. And now, you have any question that I can answer, or?
There are some questions, Ruben, in the Q&A window. Earlier,
Okay.
there were some questions on the roadmap for Oracle Digital Assistant. I'm not sure whether you're qualified to
Yeah. I don't think I can answer that thing. Maybe Jürgen?
Yes, I answered that question in the Q&A section.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I will check the open ones, right?
Yes,
so
please.
Ruben, thank you very much for the nice hands-on training, and thank you for David for the nice demo. Can you emphasize again the link where to start with Katacoda?
Yeah, so this is the link.
Please put it in the chat.
Yeah.
So we know all that the weather forecast for Madrid is not good and it's raining there.
Not for today, but tomorrow is going to be hot.
It's too hot tomorrow.
And there were a couple of questions regarding the free trial. Let me clarify that. Please make sure, if you would like to do the hands-on, that you get a free trial at cloud.oracle.com/tryit. Please activate this trial with the same email that you subscribed for this event. In case this is a company email address, so no Gmail, no Hotmail, you are whitelisted for a free trial. That means you don't need a credit card and you get $500 budget, and that should bring you for about a month of Oracle Digital Assistant. And the other question, Lucas, we had about 10 times is where to find the recording of the seminar today and where to get then the next steps. Can you provide again the YouTube link?
Yep, I will once again publish it in the chat window. There it is. So this recording is not finalized yet, of course, but it will be uploaded in the next 2 or 3 hours.
I would like to answer one question from Nagesh. So he said that they are using MCS to create the backend components for ODA. Is this approach being changed now? Do we have any provision to store the backend components in Oracle Cloud? So as I said before, or maybe the question was before I get to this part on the hands-on, right? But let's just show it again. So if you go here to the components part, you can integrate or upload the component to ODA. You can use Mobile Cloud or MCS or Mobile Hub, the version you have from Mobile Cloud, or you can call a service that is, or the component that is up and running on your data center. So you can do it. So MCS or Mobile Hub is there to stay. So you can choose which option you want. Oracle is not enforcing you to do one thing or another. Nothing else? Anything? Message content? I don't understand this. Can we perform a login to SaaS application from the ODA? So there is one component here that is authentication services, and you can integrate any OAuth server. So I guess that you can integrate that with the identity server from SaaS.
And also, Ruben, I answered that you can use browser cookies if you are using the web widget. Yeah. You can use maybe the email if you are using Facebook Messenger. So depending on the channel, you can retrieve some external information from the channel. That can be the email, username, or whatever. You have to figure out the capabilities of the channel, and you can extract some information.
Okay, so there is another question. Can we create a custom entity with dynamic value? Yes, you can create that. There is entity type that is dynamic entities, and you can load these values by calling a service. So you can have a service on your on Oracle Cloud or on your data center, and you can just call a REST service from ODA and load that data. There is an option to select multiple input in system.list options. If you select the buttons, no, but you can store. You can make it work to you can do that at the end, because at the end you can, if you let's do one quick thing. So if I go to this tester and I ask for the weather in Madrid and London, we get 2 locations, right? So we can somehow enforce the bot to store more than one value under a variable as an array. So there's a sync. Is there any max wait time or that will wait before timeout? Yes, there is a time. I don't know how much is it. And the session timeout for the channel is 60 minutes.
Ruben,
yeah,
we are 30 minutes over the time. So many people will continue questions. We have time, don't worry. But many attendees, and we still have about more than 250, would like to know where they can get more information and how they can get in contact with you and what you can offer from Avantic if they have the project.
Yeah. So first, if you want to know more about the about ODA, there is a set of links at the end of the last scenario where you have the documentation, the enablement documentation, and the tech exchange. That is, I forgot to change the name. I will change it later, but it's the blog from the Oracle product management team that they upload a lot of information. Now, David, if you want to share the last screen, the last slide.
Sure. Let me switch. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, you can repeat the course afterwards. Just register for the free trial, and then on this link, you can just go to Katacoda and do the hands-on. You can contact David and myself on Twitter, for example. There are our Twitter handles. We as a Bantic, we have a set of packages for companies where we will do like a discovery phase with the customer to retrieve all the use cases that they want to implement and prioritize them. And then we prepare like an analysis document with all that information that will be needed to implement the bot and the prototype. So we make those kind of packages. So if you are interested on something like that for your company, just reach us on Twitter, and we can also share our emails on the chat if someone is interested. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we have plenty of questions in the Q&A section. How much more time do you have?
Whatever is needed.
Okay.
Ruben, show the question and answer part, because there are some questions regarding of that.
You are presenting.
I'm presenting, right?
You can show it.
If you don't mind, at this point, I'm going to stop the recording, but I won't do so before once again thanking you, Ruben and David, for a great session. I'm really impressed, not just by Oracle Digital Assistant, but also especially by your presentation, demonstration, and the hands-on that you provided to all of us. This brings us to the end of a 6-part webinar series on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And we have traversed not all services, but quite a few of them, from the fairly low-level services like compute and storage to this fairly high-level service, the digital assistant. If you haven't been able to watch the previous webinars, all the recordings are available at the same YouTube URL, the same YouTube channel provided to you by the Red Expert Alliance. I would like to also thank once again Rolando Carrasco for all his contributions and for the facilities provided to us by Jürgen Kress and the collaboration. That was also great. So thanks everyone. And now I'll leave it up to Ruben and David to continue answering questions. Thanks very much. I'll stop the recording.